Yeah, I think it's up. We're live. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that I'm live, but I think it probably is. Give it a
Do
second.
it
I
through
just have to
Zoom?
verify.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name's Sarah Lavonne, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am back for the third of 4 YouTube lives for this week of celebrating 100,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which we are so grateful to all of you for. And so I have another Sarah with me. I don't know what happened, but I clearly am drawn to all the Sarahs and Candaces in the world. And so Sarah is here from the Juna Moms app, which is a pre and postnatal and even trying to conceive exercise app. She's going to tell you all about it. We have an offer for you so you can try it for free. But we are here to talk all about fitness and what that looks like when you get pregnant, as you're anticipating getting pregnant, and then into the postpartum period, because I know this is a huge concern for you guys. One of the YouTube videos on my queue is losing your baby weight, because that is the thing that everybody's concerned about. It's hard to gain weight in pregnancy, even though we know it's natural and that it's good and that you're growing a human, but your body changes. And so we not only want you to feel good about yourself, but we also want you to be healthy in yourself, and that your tissues are oxygenated, and that your heart is strong, and that you get to live a long life. And so that's why Sarah's here. She's going to talk to us all about fitness. And so if you have a question for the comment box, please throw it in the comment box. I am watching them. We can take live questions for those of you that are actually here live, but I also have some fun prepared questions. And so without further ado, I have a little intro for her that I'm going to read to you guys as usual, and then we'll get right into your questions. Okay. So Sarah Kuhn, am I saying your name right?
Kuhn, like cute.
Kuhn?
Yes.
Like you're so cute. Sarah Kuhn is the founder of Juna, a fitness and nutrition app for the trying to conceive, pregnancy, and motherhood journey, which is hitting all your birds with one stone. Is that a thing? Is that an idiom?
Yes.
I think that's it, right? Sarah is a pre and postnatal exercise specialist and has spent the last 10 years of her career building, launching, and marketing digital fitness products like Beachbody on demand, which I have done myself and actually truly love. So Sarah realized there was a serious gap in the market during her own path to motherhood and started on her mission to create the product she wished she had during pregnancy and beyond. And so I am just so grateful that you are giving us your time and your expertise to be here to add value to this platform. And maybe if you want to tell us a little bit about the Juna app to get us started, and then we'll get into your specific exercise questions. So tell us what Juna is, because I'm obsessed. I used it with my sister. I'm on there all the time, like clicking around. It says I'm like 43 weeks pregnant right now, which is not true. So I'm gonna have to change my due date and go back and start all over.
You have a baby, and then you can do postpartum.
Yeah, and then go into post. Like that's what I need to tell them that I had the baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So tell us about Juna.
Yes, so Juna, you mentioned it in the intro, but
I can hear you.
it is you can hear me. Okay, good. It is a fitness and nutrition app for trying to conceive, pregnancy, and postpartum. The Trying to Conceive program is a 12-week program where we basically just kind of give you meal plans, give you the exercise, and trying to optimize your body for fertility. And then pregnancy is 40 weeks. You'll never do the same workout twice. Each trimester kind of gives you a whole new set of exercises. And then postpartum, we have a 6-week postpartum program for 0 to 6 weeks, where you're basically just doing pelvic floor, core re-strengthening. That's for everyone, both vaginal births and C-sections, because it's very limited and focused in like rebuilding what happened. Basically what happened 43 weeks.
Right.
Like hopefully not 43 weeks.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely not. My 43-week pregnancy.
Send the eviction notice. And then we also have a postpartum beginner and postpartum intermediate program that take you from like kind of where you left off in your last few weeks of pregnancy, and then rebuild your strength and get you back to where you were or where you want to be fitness wise.
Amazing. Well, and this, like, honestly, I think there's a lot of misconceptions related to exercise. Like even you saying like, yeah, my fitness program for 0 to 6 weeks after birth. Like, hold on. People are probably like, wait a second. I thought I had to like lay down the whole time, which you can, but there are things you can be doing. So we'll maybe talk about that. So perfect. So basically, from trying to conceive, let's talk trying to conceive first. So for those of you that maybe are trying to have a baby, you're trying to get pregnant, you're anticipating that in the near future, what are some tips you have for people who are looking to optimize their fertility?
Yes. So the first thing I will say is there is evidence to support like a Mediterranean diet. So I think like that's the first thing to say. Like, so eat, lots of fish, whole grains, um, lots of vegetables. You want to make sure that you're getting omega-3s, omega-6s, like just really thinking about whole foods, eliminate the processed food. I'm not a nutritionist, but this is our registered dietitian that advises us. This is what is in our trying to conceive like meal plans.
Yeah.
On the exercise side, I'm going to use BMI. I kind of hate BMI, like, but
I know too, but it's what's out there.
it's a good barometer for like, so if your BMI is normal or below normal, then you really want to keep your exercise to 150 minutes or less a week, because you like the whole goal of trying to conceive is to make sure that your ovulation is normal. For me, my ovulation was like I exercised probably an hour a day and never was impacted. But but I tracked my ovulation. As soon as you're tracking and you start to see it ebb and flow a little bit more, you want to cut back on your exercise. If you're underweight, you really need to be careful about that, because exercise is the first thing that can kind of throw off your ovulation a bit.
Interesting. I feel like that's a nugget, guys. And you think like be healthier, or like honestly, if I'm telling someone that's trying to conceive, I'm like, you need to have a baseline level of fitness, you know? And so that would be really truly balancing and not going crazy,
Yes,
exactly.
exactly.
Right?
And for some people, I think about like just in the trying to conceive period, you want to reduce stress, and whether you're like it's a stressful workout. If you're like working out too much, that stress on your body is going to impact you in some way. And so it's even easier said than done, but like trying to conceive can be a stressful journey, like especially if you're like expected it to go, and then but like that doesn't happen for everybody. And so then you're using exercise as a way to deal with stress, and then it kind of like gets a little out of hand, and then your ovulation gets thrown off. It can just it's a chain of events that is no fun for anyone.
Totally. Okay.
But the one other thing is, if you have a BMI that is higher than normal, then working out more than 150 minutes is fine. It's great. The lower you can get your BMI during your trying to conceive period, the better off you're going to be, and the more likely you are to get pregnant and have a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah. That I feel like was a very solid, simple summary. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So now I get pregnant. I have like a normal BMI. I'm working out. I'm eating my Mediterranean diet, watching my weight, not eating a ton of processed foods, and it works for me.
Yes.
First through like third trimester, what are the like pregnancy recommendations, some do's, some don'ts, like as a baseline for people to get started? And let's say like for those that are exercising currently and those that maybe aren't doing anything, but are like, ooh, I know it's like labor's a lot of work and I want to have like some sort of physical fitness for it.
Yeah. So the first thing I will say is that I think one of the things that we see a lot is people being like, I didn't work out the whole first trimester. Like, can I start exercising now that I'm feeling better? And yes, you can. Like it is, I think like everyone feels profound amount of guilt for the first 12 weeks that they're pregnant.
You're
Because
so right.
they're eating carbs, like they feel like shit. They don't have any energy.
Right.
Language, but it's
whatever.
But like you gotta give yourself a break. Like this is my life, this is my career, and like I probably got max 2 to 3 workouts in max, and I'm saying like 10 minutes, 12 minutes during my first trimester, like in my last pregnancy. I just felt like shit, and I could not motivate. And I mean, I literally like couldn't get off the couch. Like I remember just being like, anyway, we don't need to delve into that. But yeah, you can in your second trimester and your third trimester. It doesn't matter when you're starting. Like there's no bad time to get started. It's just, you got to get started smart. Like you can't just be like, oh, you know what? Now I'm getting ready. Now I'm going to do an hour-long workout. I'm going to lift heavy weights. I'm just like making up for all my lost time. You got to ease back in. And it's either like start small. So like even in 5-minute increments is helpful, 5-10-minute increments, and each day increase the intensity or increase the duration until you get to a point where you can do a 30-minute workout a day.
Right.
And that is what ACOG recommends is, 30-minute workouts, 150 minutes a week, like kind of moderate intensity exercise. Some of the misconceptions is like, we get a lot of heart rate questions, like what's my max heart rate? And like, cause that used to be, that's something you'll find on the internet from 20 years ago. The best way to judge if you're going too hard is to do the talk test. Like, could you have a conversation with somebody, like, and not like this kind of conversation, but like a 3-word conversation. If you can, you're, if you can't, just temper it back a little bit, because, like if oxygen's not getting to your brain, then, like, what does that mean for the baby?
Right. And so that truly is the concern, right? That you need to get enough oxygen because you still you have to supply the placenta and the baby.
Exactly. So do's is, I think like this is going to be one of the easiest things, but also one of the hardest things is the recommendation to do diaphragmatic breathing. Like it is so important. It is literally, sorry about that. It is literally the most important thing you can do during your pregnancy, because it's like reconnecting your deep core, like your pelvic floor. It's making sure everything is talking to each other. It's also like, making sure that your like the corset muscle, which is like is basically like like, especially as you get bigger, you're like breathing in and out and like hugging baby in. And as soon as you learn that, movement, you'll know that that's how you need to exercise too. So it's like having that connection, like, will strengthen your deep core. You okay?
Can we do it?
Oh,
will you teach me diaphragmatic breathing? Everyone who's watching, try it with us.
Yes. So deep inhale. Go. Feel your ribs expand. And then on the exhale, bring your, like, basically like feel your pelvic floor, pull all the way up and tighten your core. And then
so it's like I'm pulling everything internally as I breathe in. So it's almost like I'm exercising, but I'm not.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So my rib, and I put my hands here so I can feel my ribs.
Yes. So exhale, feel them expand. Inhale, pull everything up. Yeah.
Basically, I'm like kind of contracting my core.
Yeah, it is. It's your it's the TVA.
Okay.
Basically we have that. It's like basically a daily activity in Juna. We talk you through it. It's a 3-minute exercise. I used to do it 2-3 times a day. And I didn't do it in my first 2 pregnancies. And I noticed a difference. My recovery with my pelvic floor has been better. And the injuries is kind of like not the word I want to use, but like the ailments that I experienced during my 3rd pregnancy were very different than my 1st and 2nd. And I do attribute it to both exercise, but also like being consistent with diaphragmatic breathing.
Yeah. So they should be diaphragmatic breathing, like we all kind of probably should, but basically I'm filling my lungs. You can see my chest expand. And then when I breathe out,
everything gets tight.
Everything, but it's like, it's more from my pelvic floor internally, and then my lungs empty. Like I'm lifting my boobs, but that is super helpful. So those of you that are here, while you sit here, do some diaphragmatic breathing. If you haven't seen the pelvic floor live I did with the vagina whisperer on Tuesday, that also will supplement this, because we were talking about breathing kind of being the foundation of pelvic floor work. You have your cylinder, and so you really are learning to move your cylinder. But that's different than, because when oh no, it wasn't. It was the same. So it was really the same. So then when you breathe in, pelvic floor goes down, right? And then when you breathe out, you bring your pelvic floor up, but that's like an internal kind of mental work you have to do to like lift yourself.
You can do it with a Kegel as well, but you don't have to. Like it's not important. The
So
other
foundation, breathing. And
breathing,
even that, like if you're feeling terrible in the first trimester,
just do that.
let's do some breathing. And that is something to help strengthen your pelvic floor and bring oxygen to your tissues. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And then other thing like Juna is basically like weight exercises. We use weights and bands, and we kind of come from the position that like light and medium weights is completely acceptable. Like if you're lifting heavy before, like you can continue to lift heavy, but as you're growing and expanding, like you are putting more stress on your pelvic floor. So the heavier you're lifting, think about you're doing a squat and you're holding 220-pound dumbbells, like as your body's getting heavier, it's still a lot of pressure and your pelvic floor is already stressed. And like, so I come from the position that I think you should be doing high reps, lower weights.
Okay.
Like other specialists will say something, like everyone has their own foundations, but this has been, like when I think about my experience with my last pregnancy, like my body recovered in a way that I just could not have anticipated. And it was like, I was consistent from my second trimester and third trimester on. And like lots of squats, like for me, it was building like a strong pelvis because I suffered from pubic symphysis diastasis with both my first and second pregnancies. And so a lot of our exercises in both trying to conceive and early first and second trimester are about strengthening your pelvis so that you don't have these misalignments that exacerbate sciatica issues and pubic symphysis and back pain. And so it's really like building a strong foundation so that when your alignment and like your posture is basically like slumping forward and you're trying to like do this, like it's a lot of shit is happening to your body. And so the stronger your foundation and base is, then the less of that you're going to experience. Uh-oh, you froze.
And then it cut out.
Sorry. I think we're back.
Yeah, we're good.
And then, just talking about like other benefits of exercise for pregnancy is that, the lower likelihood that you'll result in C-section. So having a vaginal birth, if that's important to you, it promotes healthy weight gain, eases your constipation, helps with better sleep. Like there's all these things that it will help you do. Also, like it gives you energy. Like I feel like the days that I worked out, especially in my first trimester, I felt much better. It was just getting there, right?
And I think for somebody that maybe doesn't work out or like hasn't been active and or maybe was like moderately active or mildly active and then got pregnant and felt horrible during the first trimester, you literally like the life is sucked out of you. And so that's where I love what you said about like the 5 minutes and starting at 5 minutes and even just like breathing exercises, which sets you up for labor and birth. That is like such an easy place to start. The other thing I was thinking about was like, I think a lot of times a misconception is that if you're a heavy weightlifter that, and or you work out a lot. I know even for me, I think about Beachbody. I did Insanity, a couple of rounds of Insanity. And it's hard when you've done something that insane to go to like normal exercise. Like nothing feels like worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-oh.
And I've had to like really, that's way better and has all of the benefits you just talked about than not doing anything at all. Or the 5 minute one lap around the block. I joke that like, just take a lap, take a lap around the block. But I think like when you talk about all of those benefits, we've heard this, it's like exercise, eat healthy, but truly these are simple, controllable things that you can do to make such a difference for your pregnancy, labor, birth, postpartum, recovery, all that.
Yeah. And the last thing I will say is that it does help you if this is important to you, it does help you lose the baby weight because your body has a strong foundation.
Yep. You're starting not from 0, you're starting from 50.
Exactly. Although it feels like 0, but
but it's not. Yeah, I love it. Cool. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So then we've been pregnant. we're working out, we're taking our 5 minutes up to 30 minutes-ish a day. We're doing our diaphragmatic breathing. So how does exercise, or what are some ways or things that women can do to prep for an easier labor? If there's anything you haven't said already. I know that was a huge question on Instagram. It was like, I want an
Yes.
easier labor. Can I work out? And hello, there you are.
Sorry, I was like, it froze again.
No, I know.
Basically, I hope I didn't miss anything, but basically, what are ways that you can prep for an easy labor, right?
Yeah, that's what everyone wants.
Okay. So the first thing I would say is that nothing's guaranteed, right? Like you live and work in this and breathe in this experience. The best thing you can do is set yourself up is consistent exercise, like doing lots of squats, lunges, having a strong lower body, making sure that you're doing some cardiovascular training because labor is hard. You also want to make sure that you are doing diaphragmatic breathing because you need to have a flexible pelvic floor. So you want
an elastic.
It needs to be able to open up. In the third trimester, our pelvic floor specialist recommends practicing pelvic floor bulging and really learning how to breathe because one of the things, I had 2 hospital births and then I had a home birth, and it was just the whole experience was so different. And I remember my 2 hospital births, all of everyone around me was telling me to push a very specific way. And it was like the holding my breath, the hard pushes, and I tore the shit out of my now knowing what I know and working with a pelvic floor specialist, I was like, oh, I was doing that all wrong. And so learning how to breathe, basically, if you know how to take a healthy poop, you can push your baby out by just breathing.
Hallelujah.
And so I think, it's like all these things to have an easy labor is exercise, consistent exercise, do squats, walk, have a healthy heart, but also look up and work with someone and figure out how, what is the right way to, and I mean, I say that now, but it would have been very hard for me to push in the way that I wanted to push, with everyone around me being like, you're doing it wrong. You got to really hold your breath. So I get that that's different. But if I had known and been empowered, been like, no, I'm going to do it this way. And this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. It's like a whole can of, because I'm a nurse and I come from the hospital, and I'm like, and we train nurses now. And so this is a piece of education that is coming to bundle birth nurses. But if you're having a hospital birth, just know you are sort of up against some ways of pushing. And the reason for that is that that's what works, but is it the best way? And plus you add in the epidural thing. And did you have epidurals?
Yeah, two epidurals with my first.
Yeah. And so it's you add in the epidural thing, and there's this whole culture surrounding pushing of potential misinformation that exists in the hospital. And so that's a whole, if you guys want that YouTube video, you
should do. By the way, I think there's nothing more important than that YouTube video.
Okay. I'll put it in my queue. I'm feels totally overwhelming because you're tackling an entire medical system and trying to empower these patients to.
Yeah. And then, by the way, it does work. I got my first baby came out in 14 minutes. It was 7 pushes. My second one was 7 minutes, 4 pushes. But my last one, literally, it was insane. He was out in 2 minutes. It was insane.
Wow.
I didn't have an epidural. I was essentially standing. I had gravity. I had all, but all those.
And it was your third baby,
Hip and slide right out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Love it. Cool. Okay. So learning about pushing, working with the pelvic floor therapist. Hello, guys. How many times are you going to see, are you going to hear me say this? You have to have a pelvic floor therapist on your team. So that, breastfeeding, and chiropractic are, again, I said this week already, but once again, to reiterate, those are my 3 recommendations. And then obviously be exercising. Yeah. So, which is why I've chosen you guys to come on this week to talk about your specialties, because I just believe in it so much.
It's perfect. Those are the 4 that I recommend to everyone too. So, yeah.
Hallelujah. We're on the same page. I love it. Cool. Okay. So I have my baby and I have a vaginal birth. And the recommendation that I've been told is 6 weeks, I'll be cleared by my OB, and then I can start exercising again.
Yeah.
What would you tell me?
So ACOG did just update that recommendation and basically saying every delivery, every experience, every person is different. And some people have, who have uncomplicated vaginal births can resume exercise within days. Some people have a more complicated, have a 4th degree tear, and they're going to take 8 weeks. And so I think it's very much, based on your own experience. I do recommend, and it's much harder now, especially because people aren't seeing their physicians as, sometimes it's 8 weeks, but having an open dialogue, because your doctor did go through that delivery with you, so they know what happened, and you can say hey, I want to know when I can get back to exercise, given my birth, what do you think, here's how I'm feeling, hopefully you can, I know UCLA had I could message my doctor really quickly, but having that open dialogue to make sure that you're not jumping into something too soon, but you're also not waiting for this magical 6-week mark that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
Typically tissue takes time to heal, 6 weeks to heal. So that's kind of been why that benchmark was set, but it means nothing. 5 weeks and 6 days, you were not okay to exercise.
Right.
6 weeks, you are okay to exercise.
Yep.
So I think it really depends. It's a case by case basis. Work with your provider, whoever that is, and make sure that you're feeling good and you're not doing anything that you don't want to be doing. And by the way, you can start doing, and I recommend you start doing Kegels immediately to get blood flow to the area. And that's whether you had a C-section or a vaginal birth, you still need to get blood flow to the area. And Kegeling, Kegeling right after you give birth is hilarious. You're I don't feel anything. Is something, but if you're just getting it going, that will start the tissue healing process.
And blood flow equals all the cells you need to heal the tissue. So that makes sense. Even if you did have a tear or even with it, I love that you said even with a C-section, because I think there's also this misconception that oh, the baby didn't come out my vagina, so I don't have anything to repair down there.
Right. And, it's interesting. And I'm sure the pelvic floor specialist talked about it as well. But people that have had C-sections expect to have perfect, go back to have a perfect vagina, perfect sex and everything. But because it's been a traumatic, there's been trauma to the area, your pelvic floor can seize up, get super hypertonic. You can have more painful sex than someone who had a vaginal birth just because the area has been traumatized. And so it is a misconception that there's nothing for you to heal or experience after if you've had a C-section.
Because it's not even just the delivery, it's actually the weight of the pregnancy. You have 9 months of
just
bowling ball, where your body's oh, I gotta hold it in, and then you let it out. That's just a lot for your body.
The vaginal birth is just the very end of it, right? You've taken it to the end line. You just didn't push it out.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Cool. So basically they can start doing Kegels from the beginning, and then case by case, based on their own sensations. How would somebody gauge that if they're at home to know how much or how little they should or can do, no matter what route of delivery?
Yeah, you can definitely tell by bleeding. Number is one. If you're doing too much,
that's a good one.
And then you're bleeding. You end up, because basically it's your body's way of being oh wait, we're not healed in here. We're gonna still.
You break a scab.
Exactly. So bleeding, again, another misconception with C-sections is that you don't bleed, but you do. Everyone bleeds. And so that's a good one. I think in general, how are you feeling pain? If you're feeling pain, then you don't want to be doing what you're doing. If you're not feeling pain, then you continue doing exactly what you're doing. And again, same as you are rebuilding. So you want to start small and kind of, increase your intensity, increase your duration over that period of time. You're not going to win any medals. You're not looking for your PR.
Right.
there's a lot of things that need to reconnect, like, and like your body needs to like relearn, especially, you mentioned that it was a question about balance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it like the postural changes that happen throughout pregnancy, like it does take time for that to kind of for you to reset. And it starts with building a strong core. And so that is why our first 6 weeks are all about like like really small and subtle core and pelvic floor movements that that basically help you so that when you go to do balancing moves, um, you're starting from like a strong foundation with your core.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's why, guys, like, again, I'm like, I think there's this, if you don't work out, and I go through periods where like I have a Peloton now, so I'm kind of like a working out freak. I'm obsessed with my Peloton. But if you don't have a Peloton, and now we're in lockup in the world where like no gyms are, and we're in California, so there are gyms open some places, and like maybe you don't like going to the gym, or you have your like yoga studio that's no longer open or whatever, especially in the pandemic. But even then, it's like, I say I have public exercise induced anxiety, that like I was bullied as a kid for my weight. And so it's actually very hard for me to go to a class. And like I've done it, and I do it, and now like I'm over myself, and I'm like grown enough and confident enough in myself that I'm like, if I look like an idiot, I look like, I don't care anymore. But this still, like the childhood, like, oh, like someone's gonna watch me, or they're gonna make fun. It's like dumb stuff. So, and I know I'm not alone in that. And so I think that like for somebody who maybe has some anxiety for working out, or some like, it's a lot of work, you have your newborn baby, you can't go anywhere. That again, it's like, what I love about Juna is that it's literally at your fingertips. You can take baby goes down, and you work into your day that I'm going to take 20 minutes, start with 5, work to 20, then to 30 minutes truly. If you, and we're not dripping in sweat. That's the thing about the Peloton, is like, I have to like prepare, sorry for the digging. I have to prepare my body, like, and then like plan to shower, and like I'm just dripping, soaked in sweat by the end of these workouts. And it doesn't have to be like that for you to still have the benefits of exercise.
Definitely. Definitely.
Cool. All right. Anything specific, do's and don'ts for the postpartum period, related to vaginal birth and or C-section? Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think, by the way, with C-sections, like I would, because like tissue heals from the top down, like I would recommend waiting until you've seen your physician. There's little things that you can do, and you'll definitely want to do scar tissue sensitization, because like, I mean, it's a tough recovery. And then at some point you want to do scar tissue mobilization. If it's not something that you're comfortable doing, you can definitely go see a pelvic floor specialist, and this is something that they can help you with. But I would wait.
It's on my YouTube queue too.
Oh, good. Okay. But yeah, it looks like your scar might look like it's healed because it's heals from the top down, but there's so many layers that it has gone through, that you want to make sure that you're completely healed before you start an exercise routine. I would say that the first thing that you should do is check and see if you have a diastasis, and I would check around 6 weeks, because most are still like present. If like 100% of women have it at week 40 of their pregnancy.
And diastasis,
there's no misconception
of the abdominal muscle.
Of the The diastasis recti is the separation of your ab muscles. The linea alba thins, and this has to happen to make room for baby. Like, and that's fine. What happens is when it stretches too. When it stretches too much, right? When it stretches too much, and then basically like your tissue's not like it's basically stretching, it's not going back, and it kind of gives you that appearance like you're still 6 months pregnant, and it's like it's awful. But it's also like really hard to resume working out because you're only going to make it worse. So figuring out if you still have it is important, because there'll be exercises that you just shouldn't do. You should never do crunches during pregnancy. It's something I wouldn't go back to doing like postpartum either. There's so many other like great core strengthening exercises. Like crunches are just like well, I don't know. I feel like they're like 1995, but anyway.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and actually, Alyssa Tonking says, how long should you wait before incorporating core work?
Oh, so I mean, I incorporate core work within the first 6 weeks. I don't incorporate like a plank. So like that, because it's all about being able to control the intra-abdominal pressure in your stomach. So like basically if you're seeing coning or doming when you're in a plank, then like you're not controlling, which basically like, it's the core connection. It's like everything needs to be tight to be able to hold in everything, and that's the most important thing. So if you can do a plank and you see no coning or doming, then you're okay. At some point your core may fatigue and then you'll see it, and that's when you should back out.
Mhm.
So I would stay away from from sit-ups, from crunches, from anything like supine, like flexion.
Like back. Mhm.
Yeah, and then I would do modified planks. I wouldn't hold them. I would do like movement oriented planks. You can do it on the back of a chair. You can do it on a couch, like just working your strength back up. And that includes like when you're talking about like push-ups, like I would do them on your
Mhm.
knees, like just
Mhm.
working through modifications to rebuild that strength.
I love it. Great tips. I hope this is super helpful to you guys. I'm loving your comments on the side. The other question that came in that I think is very appropriate and helpful, it says, it's the same person, Alyssa Tonking. She's on it. Sarah, I'm so glad okay, blah. I am currently 3.5 weeks postpartum. I am a long distance runner and ran up to 35 weeks. I've heard that exercise can negatively impact milk supply.
Oh, I love
So,
this question.
isn't that such a good question?
I love this question because it is something I was so concerned about with my first baby and did like so much research on this. And then I've like talked to various experts as well because it was something I was concerned with. So exercise does not impact milk production at all. The number one thing that you need to like think about when you're talking about milk production and exercise is that you're not at a deficit. And so like if like in terms of calories, and that is like because if you're exercising too much, you're not eating enough. Like I mean, let's say you're not even exercising. If you're not eating enough and you're at a deficit because you're trying to lose weight, this is what you want to do,
Yep.
then your milk production will be impacted. And like let's say you're on an 1800 calorie diet, you probably burn an extra 400, anywhere from like 350 to 500 calories a day just from
Mhm.
breastfeeding. So if you're not eating like and you're exercising, then your milk supply is going to be impacted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically what I'm saying is make sure that you're eating and drinking enough. And like you actually have to do some math and make sure that you're like, okay, like so I'm exercising for 30 minutes a day and that's burning roughly 500 calories. I'm also burning an extra 500 calories. Like so I have
A
to eat
lot.
1,000 calories
Yeah.
here to exercise and to breastfeed and not
And
impact.
will they still gain weight when they're doing that? Because there's the whole like, I need to eat less to lose weight.
They will still lose weight. You will still lose weight. Like you basically, I mean, like you're gonna lose weight, period, because like if you're exercising, you're eating well,
Mhm.
your body is going to like start to expel all the fluid. You know, like it's I don't know anyone that has like not lost any weight from like from a, from a pregnancy, like if
Mhm.
they're doing all of the right things.
Yep.
And but it is like I think like there's three types of people with breastfeeding. There's people that lose all of the weight plus some, have never been so skinny in their life because like their body's just like burning shit.
Yeah.
There's people that lose weight and then hang on to 5-7 pounds until they stop breastfeeding. That's
Yep.
me. Like it's
Yep.
just my body
That's
hangs on.
very common.
Yeah.
Very common.
I think like that's like and then there's the people that like lose weight and then as soon as they stop breastfeeding, they put weight back on
Mhm.
because like they're still eating the same amount, but they're no longer burning that amount of calories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
kind of figuring out where you'll know which like where you're at because you're just like shit, I cannot lose this last 5 pounds or oh my god, I can't keep weight on. And the other thing is like you're ravenous when you're breastfeeding, so like you like it's hard to I mean I think dieting is really hard period when you're in the postpartum like it's just like it's a hard thing to do because underslept, you have cortisol, like it's like there's all these factors that are going to get in the way of like your weight loss journey, and then like you're also like trying to be a mom.
Right.
uh
Well,
but
that's why like dieting, I more usually recommend just like really paying attention to the calories you put in your body. Like what is fueling you? And we say you are what you eat, right? And so actually Alyssa was like, so it's more about nutrition than exercise. And yeah, right. So it's less so the exercise, it's like, imagine if you're building healthy tissues and in the postpartum period, you're recovering, you're healing. So what you eat, this is a good visual, at least for me, what you eat becomes those tissues. And if you want to build healthy tissues, you have to fuel your body to build healthy tissues with healthy calories.
yeah,
And it's not literally that direct, but I think that analogy kind of for me is helpful to motivate to eat well.
yeah. Yeah, and I would actually, if you notice there is an impact to your breast supply, your milk your breast supply, your milk supply, then like the first thing I would do is try eating more, not reducing my
Not
exercise.
exercising less.
Yeah.
That is a nugget. I love it. Cool. Um, So Rosemary Soto says, hi, I have an 8-month-old baby girl and I'm trying my very best to lose weight, my 6-month belly, but it doesn't disappear. I used to have a rockin' body and that makes me so depressed. What can I do?
Well, firstly, if like I mentioned, the diastasis recti can make it appear to like kind of have this like still pregnant body. So I would get assessed for that first. But if you're like, no, it's definitely just weight. Like if you're sure that it's just your body weight is not letting go, the first question I would ask myself is, am I still breastfeeding? Because like that could also play into like if I'm still breastfeeding, I might not be able to lose that weight. And then I would just start a food diary. Like are you eating more because you're breastfeeding? Are you eating the right foods? Are you exercising enough? Like, I mean, I hate saying this because like I'm not a calorie counter and I don't think that it's like a good thing, but like like weight loss really is math. Like there's just, you know, like it's like there's a certain amount of weight you have to be at a deficit, like you to lose weight. Like there's no way you can continue to eat the same foods and you know like and still expect this like a result of weight loss if you're not at a deficit. And
Yep.
so making sure again, like with an 8-month-old, like I like give yourself time, like you put weight on over a 9-month period. It does take patience. I think like the majority of my friends and my peer group, like it can take it. It's like most people are looking at a year of like, okay, now I'm starting to feel like myself. My workouts are starting to feel like I was before I had a baby. Like I think like you're also I don't at 8 months, like you may still be waking up in the middle of the night. And like that can also play into, you know, sabotaging weight loss goals. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're not sleeping, it's like virtually impossible to lose weight. So I think like I would look at all of those factors, and then also just when like this is the easier said than done, but like when you're consumed with it, it's like it's like gonna cause your body to hold on to it as well. Like it's like that the cortisol of stress, like that you're like, oh, I need to lose weight and I need to get my body back. Like that's actually
Yep.
gonna
Yep.
sabotage your results as
Yep.
well.
And just letting go. I mean, the same goes for labor. Honestly, it's like when you're so stressed about getting yourself into labor and like, why am I still pregnant? I'm going to be pregnant forever. The moment you release, and somebody told me, like, and I've started using it, I don't remember who said it, but somebody was like, once you accept eternal gestation, then you'll go into labor. And there's a certain level of just relax, let go. Like, it's going to happen. You don't have to look perfect. Like whatever your perfect is, you look perfect no matter what. And so it's like, you don't have to look the way you want to look right now. You're recovering. Give yourself so much grace. You just did an amazing thing by creating a human, birthing a human, and now potentially feeding the human and letting your body recover. That like, it takes time,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
That's easier said than done. Like it
Yes.
is. You're like in a body that you don't recognize and you don't like and you don't want, you know, like you want to feel like yourself again. Like I get that. Like
Right.
people, you know, like everyone's kind of shames the people that say, I want my body back. And I'm like,
Mhm.
it's, you know what? Like I do. I want my body
Yeah,
back.
of
Like
course.
I'm confident and like I don't know why that should be a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. And that you just need to like accept the mom bod forever. Like if that's not what you're comfortable with, then that also doesn't have to be your reality, but also like deep breath, it takes some time and that's okay. And we like the instant gratification when this is more like, think about it through a health lens rather than a, like, I have to, all the things to be looking a certain way.
Yeah.
I love it. Cool. So how do they connect with you? If they want more, if they're like, oh my gosh, please help me, like talk about the app, you can any kind of contact info. And then I'll give you my promo code and my last question for you is just the last word of wisdom. If you want to just leave another final nugget, anything in the world.
Okay. Well, first, I will tell people that you can find us on Instagram at juna.moms. We give all sorts of pregnancy advice, kind of centered around fitness, health, nutrition. You can find the Juna app on the iOS and Android app stores. Just search Juna pregnancy workouts. I'm sure you could find it with just Juna as well. But to be real specific, you also sign up via the website, and that's where you can use the code BUNDLEBIRTH for a free month. You can only use that code on the website. Apple and Play stores don't allow you to do codes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, it's annoying. And then what else? A final nugget. My final nugget. If I leave you with anything, it is, if you haven't been exercising, you can still start. Like, don't let that thing, because there is like the misnomer that like, oh, you can only do what you were doing before pregnancy. That is not true. Just get started. Just start small.
I love it. I love it. That is my takeaway for when I'm beating myself up with not doing anything. It's like, I'll do some core breathing, that 5 minutes, open the app and do one exercise, and that's what I love about having some sort of guide. Because especially if you don't know anything about this world, it's like, where in the world do I start? And that's where like having something like this is just so helpful. Even for me, I reference it for my clients all the time where I'm like, okay, get this app. And then I don't know what to tell you right now. It's your 3.5 weeks postpartum. Like, I don't know what the actual recommendations are for this time. And that's why, like, know your limitations and go to the specialist. So that's why I'm so excited that you were here. Thank you so much for being here and offering so much of your wisdom to this audience. It has been so fun. If you guys want her back, let me know. And then you can also send and comment on your specific questions, because we can do this again and follow up with any of your comments in the comment box down below. As usual, you can find me at bundlebirth.com, on Instagram at bundlebirth, and then everything will be in the description box down below. This will be live for you guys to rewatch and come back to or send to your friends. Make sure you subscribe, and then don't forget to flex and flow, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.